plus or minus with Nathan, Frank, and Ray.
Gregory Moore, it is a good day to be a hockey fan.
Frank, old buddy, I know I say this every single time, but this really does feel like Christmas.
It is like, this is like the man's drama. Like, it's so dramatic. It's like a daytime soap.
I prefer to be more inclusive.
With men.
I'm going to be more inclusive and say,
oh, you're going to be that guy. You're going to try to make me look ignorant in the first 30 seconds of our cast.
Oh, Frank, you're too good. Listen, I miss you. I miss hanging out with you.
Yeah, I know. This is all we got, and it's better than nothing. But I would like to see your face, your hairy face.
Here's what I would like. I would like you to cook with me again. Remember when we used to cook together and we bought...
I remember you cooking pork chops all the time.
I was going to say 20 kilograms of pork chop. It was $20 for like 4 kilograms of pork chops.
We got it from pork. We got it from old Bobby on the side street there. He has a butcher shop.
Good old Bob Tauber. Now, I don't even know if we have decided or said out loud what we're so excited about. It's the trade deadline tomorrow.
It got off to a pretty good start today. It got off to a pretty good start with the Ryan Miller trade, but then today, I think everyone's bubbles were burst with the impossible trade.
Don't jump the gun on me. We'll get too long in a bit, but you have to give the people what they want. They want to know how the week was in Radioland.
Well, I had a few good moments. I called a few more hockey games, and enjoyed my show. I got to listen to some Canadian artists, the Canadian content.
Let me just break in here for a second. If you're listening for the first time, you can reach us at Sir Greg Moore, at Nathan Frankster. I want to say a quick thank you to puckrant.com and our executive producer, Maddie O'Connell, for making us look good.
And if you're,
they can get back, go ahead.
If you're a longtime listener, they can contact us as well.
Yeah, because you guys have been slowing down, but I want to break into what you just segued to in Canadian artists. Now, Nathan, did you happen to watch the Oscars on Sunday?
Unfortunately, I didn't see them. I was calling a hockey game in Unity, Saskatchewan. But I know the details. I know it's kind of what happened. I know a little thing or two.
I always take you as someone who really, really admires celebrities. Like you probably have subscriptions to People, Us Weekly, all that stuff. Am I right?
I think are you joking or are you being serious?
I'm completely joking. That's way off base.
I think that, what's her name? That Jennifer Lawrence, she's kind of interesting.
You would, because she falls a lot. You're into that.
She's just really human, right? And she's funny when most girls...
She stumbles downstairs.
It's hard to find women that are funny.
I bet she's like you.
As a rule, women aren't very funny.
Well, we'll leave that one up to the judges. But I want to know your thoughts on Amanda Marshall.
Well, I really was fascinated by her hair as a child.
And well, I'll tell you what, Frank. You told the entire town of Kindersley what you thought about Amanda Marshall.
That was a segue. I got you.
Amanda Marshall, believe in you. I'm curious. Where is Amanda Marshall? Is she still alive? How many kids has she had? Who did she marry? Where does she live? I'm not a stalker. I'm just really curious. Anyway, it's time for me to say goodnight. My program's over, and I enjoyed hanging out with you for the last 4 hours. Take care.
I really hope Amanda Marshall wasn't listening to that because, boy, and you addressed it, boy, did you sound creepy in that.
Yeah, that's me when I get to actually ad-lib. That was totally ad-lib. But the thing is, I Googled her after, and she's apparently still doing music. I can't remember if she has a family or not, but I'm hoping not.
Not exactly classy.
You answered your own question.
Yeah.
Now, my next question for you. Do you have Snapchat?
I deleted it because I got some strange viruses sent to me from Simon, our good friend.
You got carried away on Snapchat. Is that what you're telling me?
Don't lead people to believe that happened. It didn't happen. Why you asking? Because you love it so much? I remember you wrote a blog about it and told everyone how awesome it was.
Listen, I am a Snapchat purist. I only send pictures of shapes and colors and artwork. That's all I send.
I didn't realize that there were Snapchat purists. I thought that everything about Snapchat was impure.
Ooh, not bad, Frank.
That it basically it was a extension of this reality that wasn't as good as real life.
Hey, what are you doing?
Come again?
Sorry, I was just quoting Real Talk and Bubba back in the day.
I've never seen that show.
You should watch the commercial. Listen, this is my last question before we get into hockey because I know people are saying, hey, cut to the chase, guys. Are you a big fan of Kale? and perhaps because I know that sometimes you get lumped into the whole hipster
Are you
thing.
just trying to make me feel uncultured? I don't have a lot of experience with kale.
Are you telling me that you don't have a bowl of kale chips in your house?
Not at all, but apparently you do.
Well, I was going to ask you.
And you got a thing against hipsters too. We were talking about that the other day, but go ahead with your kale commentary.
I was just going to say, like, I made some kale chips, and there they were. They taste delicious. And I'm wondering myself, I was going to ask you, because I thought, you wear flannel once in a while. Maybe you know. Are they as healthy for me as regular kale? But
they're
I'm
dehydrated, right? What do you dehydrate the kale? I haven't had a lot of kale.
I put them in the oven.
No, actually, I have had kale. I had it this summer. It's a vegetable, right? So it's like the green stuff, and you kind of peel it, and you eat You eat the whatever it is right off the leaves, right? Basically, is that a decent explanation?
It's a vegetable, so I don't know.
And it's kind of like a pine cone, right?
No, like you're completely off base. It's a leafy green. It would be eaten by an ankylosaurus.
I don't know what that is either.
We're gonna move on to hockey. Let me tell you this:
an ankylosaurus.
It was my favorite dinosaur when I was growing up.
I don't think my favorite dinosaur was the long neck and the triceratops.
The long neck. You're getting really scientific on me there.
Yeah, not even the proper name. What was the proper scientific name for the long neck?
Brontosaurus.
Sure.
Littlefoot's mother, the Brontosaurus or the Brachiosaurus?
I think so.
I think today they're called the giraffe. Anyway, we are out in left field.
Yes, and we have to talk about some other animals like Tim Thomas.
Dun, da, da, da,
and
dun, da, da, da.
Roberto Luongo.
Okay, let's start right where your heart is, because I saw you going off on Twitter. Roberto Luongo no longer a Vancouver Canuck for real this time.
Mike Gillis is a bold-faced liar.
Not exactly classy.
For example, Manny Malhotra. He lies about the guy saying it's not safe for him to play.
Manram.
And Manram was the heart and soul of that Canucks team. He was great.
So is he
doesn't respect his players.
I think you really liked Manny Malhotra. Do you have another example of Mike Gillis line that's not so close to your sensitive heart spot?
Well, Roberto Luongo right in front of you. I mean, I don't get it. He says he can't trade him for 2 years, and then suddenly 2 days after another explosion of media lies, he gets rid of him.
Not exactly classy.
That easily.
I'm going to push back on you a little bit on this. When it came down to brass tacks between Corey Schneider and Roberto Luongo, the jury voted and said you have more value in Corey Schneider.
So, but why did he just suddenly trade him and say he had no choice? Right?
Roberto Luongo?
No. First off, why did he trade Schneider and not get more value for him? Like, no one even knew he was available, Schneider. So, obviously, I agree. You have more value for Schneider. But then he didn't get as much value as he could from him. Like, think about what he's asking for from Kessler. Apparently, he wants a young center who's from between 20 and 25, and he wants a first-round pick and another young forward. That's kind of what you could expect for Schneider.
And a partridge and a pear tree for that Kessler trade. If he gets that, oh my goodness, what are you having to forfeit?
Well, that's the rumors are that's exactly what he wants, and
I heard the same thing.
I think he'll get it.
No,
I think he'll get at least. I wrote a blog on Puck Rant the other day about how I think even if they got a young center, that's like a potential 60 to 70 point center, that would probably be a good trade because Kessler's value is going to go down real quick soon.
Frank, do you not have a sign up on your house that says we're recording a podcast right now?
Oh yeah, that would be my telephone in the background.
Getting back right into it, I think that if they get all three pieces of those for Ryan Kessler, who is often injured. Yes, we saw his heart. When he went to the Cup final, he was great against Nashville. Then does not Gillis recover himself?
Well, yeah, there would be a lot of a recovery for sure, and the rebuild wouldn't take as long. I mean, they still have a top line. I mean, they're likely going to have to fire Tortorella because it's not working with Tortorella and the Sedin twins.
Well, Tortsky.
They need to bring in somebody. They need to at least bring in a power play specialist because
who do they need to bring in?
The Sedin should still be good on the power play.
Do you have anyone in mind?
A coach?
Yeah.
Well, they could bring in Jacques Martin, but that probably wouldn't be the right coach either. I got to think about who's available. Do you have any ideas, Greg? Just on the top of your head?
Coaches are not my cup of tea, nor my espresso. So I have no idea.
I'd
Well,
have to think about it, but I know someone they could bring in for their power plays. The coach they fired from Edmonton, their special teams coach. I forget his name at the top of my head. Anyone that's listening would probably know.
So what about
He joined the Team Canada's ranks. He's a specialist in Europe. That's who they should bring in to get their power play going.
So what do you think about what Gillis got back in return for Luongo? Markstrom and is it Matthias?
Matthias, yeah. Matthew, I don't know. I think it's Matthias.
We'll go with Matty.
I'm probably
We'll
pronouncing it wrong. I think that it's obviously the thing is the fact that they can't trade Luongo. So when they're in that fact the market isn't really that big for him, I think it's pretty good actually.
Was not Markstrom supposed to be the future in Florida?
He's supposed to be awesome, but it seems like everyone just completely jumped off the bandwagon. And clearly Florida doesn't think much of him, or they wouldn't have traded him for Luongo, right? Because I mean, Luongo's a good goalie, but he's 34 years old. So clearly they've totally given up on him.
They're going with complete vets in net.
I think
they're Thomas. And
I think they'll trade Thomas probably to a contender. But yeah, clearly Florida's given up on him. My phone's ringing again. My dad's apparently a pretty popular dude.
Jeepers, what kind of business is he running out there, Frank?
I think it's a grow up of some sort. But
so does this mean the Vancouver Canucks are selling for sure at the deadline?
Well, completely. Like you don't trade your veteran goaltender for nothing at the deadline. There's no reason they couldn't have just traded him in the summer, right?
Yeah. No, I saw on Twitter, and we were talking about what just happened, and it's a good move by Vancouver to recognize the fact that you're too old, you need to rebuild, because the last thing you want is to have these guys until everyone's 40 years old, and then now you're the Calgary Flames.
I think there's a 90% chance that they trade Kessler tomorrow. And the thing is, I think they've looked over at Calgary and they've realized we don't want to do that. And that's why they're being so proactive.
Why would you?
But I think that Gillis has only, like, if he wants to save his career, he's got to do it in the next 24 hours. Because
we'll see.
He's really screwed up a lot of things.
I cannot see a team giving up that much for him, but I guess we'll see. In other news, Frank, this past weekend in Saskatchewan, Canada, where we're recording this podcast, it was rumored to get to minus 67 Celsius.
It was ridiculously cold, and that was complete bull crap. That was minus 67 Fahrenheit. It wasn't minus 67 in Regina, was it?
No, it was about minus 55, I think it got to.
Yeah,
that's Celsius for you American listeners. Minus 55 Celsius. What did you do?
I had to be on the road. I had to go to 2 hockey games this weekend. I went to one game on Friday night in Rosetown, which is the middle of Saskatchewan for many people that have no clue. It's basically just right in that dab in the middle almost. And anyway, my feet didn't warm up the entire trip home. It's an hour and 10-minute drive back to my farm where I'm living right now. And it was freezing. It was ridiculous that I had to be out there.
You've got giant big toes. That's probably what the problem is.
And I also have a bunion on my left toe as well.
Maybe that's why you trip down the stairs so much. The reason that I'm asking about what you did on the weekend, because you confessed something to me that I'm going to put out here on international podcasting audio. Frank, you are completely addicted to Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, I love that show.
What is it about Friday Night Lights that gets you? Like you were just like gushing over it on the phone.
I was telling you that the characters just get you, right? They know how to, these writers, they know how to get you because they leave cliffhangers for you. And they have just these really dramatic situations that the characters get into. Like the one guy ended up killing this, okay, first off, this girl is being stalked by this guy and who's tried to rape her. Like this is how serious these problems are for these kids.
This just shifted gears.
Anyway, so this guy, he doesn't leave her alone. And so he attacks this girl again. So then the Landry, who's a friend with this girl, he breaks up the fight, and the guy runs away and says, walks away and says, "I'm gonna get you later, chick," or whatever. And then Landry hits the guy in the head with a metal pipe and kills him. So
I think we should change this podcast from a hockey podcast to an entertainment podcast because you are showing a lot of emotion right now.
It's just dramatic, and you get into the characters and the acting, and you forget that it's not reality. It feels like it's reality. And I have a pretty boring life, right? I don't have any relationships. I don't have a lot of friends, so I get into that.
Well, here, Frank, the next time you pop on some Friday Night Lights, why don't you put some kale chips in the oven and give me a call, and I'll pop over and we'll check it out together.
That'd be nice. Have a little friend date.
A little friend appointment.
Yeah, there we go. That's better.
Little friend.
What about yourself?
Little friend
How do
gathering.
you're an introvert, right, Greg?
I'm
You're
actually by definition
you're
I'm a professional extrovert.
Yeah, I
Correct.
knew that line, Greg. I used that in an interview one time. I didn't get the job, but so you're a professional extrovert. So what do you do when you unwind?
I want to be by myself. Don't talk to me. Turn the phone off. Sometimes it involves TV. Sometimes it involves reading. Sometimes it involves just me walking around the mall by myself.
So do you
Or
like?
going.
So do you turn your brain off?
I try my best. Like I literally just drive with no music, no sound, no nothing. Just me and the road.
So
That's it.
it's not thinking time. It's just alone time where you kind of just forget it. You just basically have to turn off your brain so you can reset and regroup. Is that basically it?
Sometimes it's thinking, sometimes it's processing, sometimes it's thinking about jokes, sometimes it's hanging out with my imaginary friends, but more often than not, it's nothing too substantial. I need to recharge. When I'm around people, and this is a confession, sometimes I get nervous. If there's a big group of people, like for example, if you come to my birthday party and there are 20 people there, I am intimidated because I feel like I have to entertain all you. And to me, that's
Because
exhausting.
that's what everyone expects from you.
And so when I used to work as a server at a restaurant, I used to have to crank hardcore music to get me pumped up, get my blood flowing, listen to it at the top of my lungs. I can remember screaming on the way to work, singing some O'Neill songs. It's my favorite band from Brampton, Ontario. Trying to get my blood flowing to get excited, and I would just kind of peak and I would try and hold that adrenaline for my 4 hour shift. And then as soon as I was done, I would not talk to anyone. I would get in my car. I would turn off the volume for everything. I would just drive home in silence.
And I lived with you, and for a little while, I had to figure out that that's what you were like, because I would want to hang out or talk or just goof off, and you need a lot of alone time.
We're getting all sensitive here in the podcast.
Yeah, we're opening up a little bit. Greg, I think I'm
Wow.
becoming an introvert.
I think you're definitely an introvert, Frank.
Yeah, but I was growing up. I didn't even when we went to college together. I didn't think I was an introvert, but I think I'm definitely an introvert now, because
Well, people change though.
I'm totally anxious when being big crowds too, and especially with people I don't really know very well. Like, I don't really want to talk to people. I'm kind of a jerk.
You know what, Frank?
I avoid social situations.
I don't- people change is what I always say.
Yeah.
But I think we should give Dr. Phil a call.
Yeah.
And we'll get us both on the show, and maybe we'll get some new viewers.
Yeah, we're doing a podcast. We're introverts, but we're doing a podcast.
Hello. Okay, getting back to the trade deadline, what do you think about Anaheim's move? Anaheim kind of made a lot of moves to kind of free up some space.
They got Robidot today, right?
Stefan
I
Robin.
think this is a team that I think they're pretty confident in what they have, and they have an opportunity to in the Western Conference to really compete. Right? There's a few teams. St. Louis is loaded up, and LA's likely you just can't win every year. And LA's they don't have as much goal scoring as Anaheim, and Anaheim's really going to match them when it comes to physicality when you have a top line of Getzlaf and Perry. So I don't know. Are they going to go all out tomorrow? Like the rumor, some people are thinking Vanek's going to go to Anaheim. Like, what kind of impact would that make for Anaheim?
For me, it doesn't matter. For me, Anaheim is still the best team in the West, the best team to beat. Like they traded Stefan Robidoff for a conditional 4th draft pick. Okay, they traded Dustin Penner to the Caps for a 4th round draft pick. They then traded Victor Fast, which is impossible to say, to the Oilers for a 5th and 3rd round draft pick.
Isn't it a bit strange that they're trading away? I mean, obviously these aren't their core players, but they're trading away a lot of their depth.
Well, I probably disagree. They're
not important players.
Yeah, he hasn't been playing a lot. Like he's been a healthy scratch a lot actually this year. Victor Fast is on the bench. They're obviously going with Anderson and Hiller. So for me, they haven't really given up anything. And they freed up all this space, and now they're going to make a play at a goal scorer to add to that team that is already probably the most well-rounded team in hockey. Arguably the St. Louis Blues as well. These guys are good.
For sure, and I guess that's the thing. You hit it right on the hammer you hit the nail on the hammer, that they're trying to clear space, right? So that they can afford anybody that they want to add tomorrow. And they're going to be a contender in the playoffs. I'm looking forward to seeing them play.
They are going to win the Pacific. It's going to be Anaheim versus San Jose in the Pacific. We know that. Yeah, it is.
I think LA matches up well against San Jose. I'm still saying LA comes out ahead.
Okay, well, I'll talk to you a couple of months. I'll be the one telling you I told you so.
How about a team that's really hasn't had to rebuild is San Jose? Like, this team is similar. I don't want to get into the Vancouver topic, but they're similar to Vancouver. The fact that they're getting old, right? Joe Thornton's 35 years old, and they're still competitive with every other team in the West. That's a well managed team.
Yeah, they do. I agree. They do one of the best jobs in the league of blending old with new. Remember when it was a Heatley, Marlowe, and Thornton, and they were all getting older. Then they shipped out Heatley, and now we got Logan Couture in there, and they got Thomas Hurdle in there. I know he's hurt right now. These guys do a really good job of filling in the gaps and balancing the youth with the veteranness.
And
I can just make up a word.
And they're built pretty good down the middle. I mean, like Pavelski's been a pretty important player for this team throughout the years. And obviously, without Joe Thornton, this team just isn't. They're not a contender. I would really wager that they're not. So I mean, they've had a healthy Joe Thornton all this time, which helps.
Can you believe he's still in the league? He used to play for the Boston Bruins. Remember that?
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was good when he was with them as well. That trade was that was a bad trade for the Bruins. But obviously, Boston didn't really look back. Apparently, they didn't need him.
Forget the Boston Bruins. Who cares about them? Moving on to the Edmonton Oilers. They've chosen their goaltenders.
They've chosen their goaltenders, but Victor Fash, he's a 31-year-old goaltender, and he's a pretty good 1A. And you don't want a goaltender that's $6 or $7 million. First off, where are you going to find a $6 or $7 million top tier goaltender who's going to re-sign in Edmonton right now? Like, they may not. So this is the best thing they could do with the situation they're in. It's perfect because it gives both these goaltenders 2 years. Scrivens is signed for another 2 years, and so he has a chance to get a pay hike to improve his salary and prove that he's a number one goaltender. Same thing with Fash.
Absolutely, man. Like when the Oilers started the season, their goalies were Devin Dubnyk and Jason LaBarbera, both who may have played their last games in the NHL.
Dubnyk has completely dropped the ball. Like I don't think we should talk about him in this podcast ever again.
He's on waivers, and it was nice knowing you, Dubnyk. I hope you got the education.
I feel sorry for the guy, but yeah, I just think that we shouldn't talk about him ever again.
All right, see you later, Dubnyk. You're off the podcast. So next season,
I want to say this one last time. Doobie doo. Now we can move on.
Do you want to try again? I'm not sure you nailed that one.
I thought I did.
No.
Doobie doo. Isn't that
your timing's off.
Oh, it is? Well, you do it then.
Doobie doo.
Yeah, you did do a little better job than me. I'm just not a very good singer.
It's the trills in the throat, Frank.
Yeah, I heard the trill. It was good.
So next season, Edmonton starting with Fast and Scrivens. The guys are standing a chance to at least improve over this season.
Edmonton needs a defenseman. Like, they need a towering D-man. Like, I've been saying that. I've said it probably 10 times on this podcast, but until they improve their defense, that team's going to have a lot of issues.
You don't think that with the team they have now, that they can make the playoffs next year with this goaltending?
They need to figure out their defense. Like, they need to play. They need some defensemen to just make them more solid back there. Like, if you're given grade A scoring chances to the other team over and over again, and your forwards aren't even back checking very well, and you don't get a good system defensively, then their goaltenders are going to be screwed.
Speaking of the goaltenders, out in the woods, Brizgalov, or Brizgalov, however one you want to pronounce it, did not last too long. He's on his way to Minnesota, who's been looking for a goalie.
Does Minnesota really think this guy's going to be a starter that they want for the playoffs?
I got no idea. Maybe they think that the fact that they actually have some defense in Minnesota as opposed to Edmonton,
they should have traded.
He'll return.
They should have traded for Tim Thomas if I were Minnesota.
Well, I mean, Brizgalov's past has been if he's on a team that's sound defensively, he can actually look after you.
I guess you're right, but yeah, maybe you're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
on Philadelphia and Edmonton, he has no hope.
He had
success. But for the Ducks and Phoenix, he's great.
It was years ago though that he had success. Like, it's been 3 years since he was any good in between the pipes. I don't care what team he's played for the last few years. He just isn't any good.
My guess is for the amount of money that other goalies are asking, then it was worth the risk.
Yeah, but Tim Thomas is just he's just signed for this year, right? So I mean, what kind of risk is that? And he's not getting paid very much. They should have gone with Timmy Tom.
I think it was. Well, he's a Republican though.
Yeah, and Minnesota is a Democratic state. You're right.
Is it?
No, I was just hoping that's right.
I'd say I don't know a whole lot about politics.
You should have called me on that, Gray. That would have made me sound really intelligent.
I love it.
That's all.
You're one of the smartest guys I know, Frank.
It's just about faking it, right? You just gotta, in social interactions, you just gotta fake it. If you don't know something, just nod your head, and then find your end to chip in about something you do know.
That's how us introverts survive in the world.
Oh, for sure. I've been doing that my entire life.
I think people probably give us way more credit than we deserve because we're just so quiet and they can't read us.
And unless we have like something like, you're an entertainer, Greg. You're not that quiet.
Whoa, Frank, we're on the same page there. Quit throwing me under the bus.
Well, I'm just saying you can't really call yourself quiet. But you're saying inside, like you want to be quiet.
I'm upset now. Moving on to the next.
Anxious.
This is it.
You're sweating.
The trade deadline was kicked off with a blockbuster this year. Can we call it that?
Which one?
It was a pretty big deal. Ryan Miller and Steve Ott for Halak, Chris Stewart, William Carrier, and 2 picks going the other way to Buffalo.
That was quite the trade. I'm excited for St. Louis. I think that they got the cup because of that trade.
Well, I'll tell you this, Frank. You called them having the cup before that trade.
Exactly. Now they have the goaltending.
Now, here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to get all excited and give them the cup. I don't think Ryan Miller is a very big upgrade over Yaroslav Halak.
He's an improvement. I hear your argument, but I think he's definitely an improvement. Halak.
But how much of an improvement?
And that's obviously St. Louis definitely believes that he's an upgrade. They've given Halak a good opportunity to shine on that team. Like that defense is pretty darn solid.
Yeah, last year him and Elliott were great. And I agree with you that Ryan Miller is an upgrade, but how much of an upgrade?
Well, I mean, he's not going to have to steal many games for St. Louis. But sometimes in his playoff series, it comes down to goaltending, right? Against LA, you have Jonathan Quick, who's proven in the last 2 playoffs that he can outplay any other goaltender out there. So when you're going up against Jonathan Quick, you need Ryan Miller. Yaroslav Halak being a 80% goaltender when you can have a 95. Let's look at this as EA Sports rating. You got an 85 in Yaroslav Halak. You got a 93 in Ryan Miller. And Jonathan Quick's a 94. You need that 93 goaltender to be that much more competitive.
Well, if we're talking about EA Sports,
and it comes
Yaroslav Halak is an 89.
Okay, I guess I was thinking of NHL, just a different version. But
I'll tell you this though, if go ahead.
With series though, they come down to like overtime, right? Even like LA's run that they had and Boston's run they had. Like think about Boston, they scored 2 Game 7 overtime goals. Like these series come down to like tight situations. And sometimes it's just about confidence. Like if Miller can even give his team a little bit more confidence than Halak did, that could be the difference. Because right now, this St. Louis team doesn't think that they can defeat LA. Like LA's in their head. What
is with you in this fantasy with LA?
Well, they just won the Stanley Cup and then lost in the semifinals. I think that they deserve a little bit of credit.
LA, I'm telling you this year, LA will lose in the first round.
I'm telling you that this is a very confident club. They think that they're.
I don't care how confident you are; they're going to lose in the first round.
Well, we'll just wait and see, Greg.
Frank,
are you a prophet?
They're going to have to play. They're going to have to play Anaheim or San Jose. They will not beat either of those teams in the first round of the playoffs.
Who did you say they have to beat?
Anaheim or San Jose, because they're going to finish 1-2 in the Pacific Division.
Well, Anaheim hasn't got out of the first round in like 5 years.
Anaheim.
San Jose is a perennial.
The Western Final.
San Jose is a perennial disappointment.
This is going nowhere. What I wanted to say was, is the trade completely in the favor of Buffalo if the St. Louis Blues, for some reason, cannot sign Ryan Miller?
Well, there's no guarantee that they'll sign Ryan Miller. So Buffalo did well in that case, obviously, and they're planning on getting rid of Halak because Halak isn't re-signed after this year either. So they're probably going to trade him tomorrow to who knows where.
I heard they might even ship out Chris Stewart, the ex-Atlanta Thrasher.
And Chris Stewart has a contract. So, I mean, we won't know for a little while here, but even if Chris Stewart at least is under contract, and that guy's got talent, but he's so streaky. But he's got way more talent than Steve Ott.
Everyone loves Chris Stewart.
Well, the thing is, St. Louis clearly doesn't, or they would have never made that trade.
Well, they needed something to get Ryan Miller, and I bet you Chris Stewart was the most important piece of that trade.
I guess so. But there's also a first-round. Is that first-round pick conditional, or did they get a first-round pick, and then if Ryan Miller resigns, they get another first-round pick?
I'm not sure. Are you sure it was a first-round pick?
We would have to look at it, but I know that it's a conditional first-round pick, and I think that there's another first-round pick on top of that.
I know we're not doing our jobs. We're supposed to know that. That's what people tune into us, Frank.
I think they tune in for us being ridiculous.
You think so? You have to let us know at Nathan Frankster, at Sir Greg Moore. Speaking of Buffalo, Frank, with that trade, Ryan and Steve leaving, they now have 10 picks in the first 2 rounds of this year.
And this team already has a ton of youngsters, right? But the thing is, it's sort of like B players, like Cody Hodgson. He's a decent second line center. Tyler Ennis, he's a shrimp. But and then they got Marcus Foligno, who seems to have a lot of potential. So it's just like you have 10 more picks. This team will come around at some point, but they need to get a superstar here and there. So hopefully,
You still got Tyler Myers back there.
But Tyler Myers has been such an enigma too. Like that first year,
Slowly
his rookie year, he was awesome. He's talk about a head case. He's been a head case at the beginning of his career. He's really had a lot of problems with confidence.
He's still young. I think he'll figure it out.
I've heard there's a pretty big market for Tyler Myers, which makes sense.
There should be a big market, especially with you always talking about how long it takes for a defenseman to develop, a la Victor Hedman. I think that they have more than enough time for patience and that sort of thing. And Buffalo's going to get the first overall pick, so they're going to get, what's his face? The kid.
Well, they could get Ekblad, or they could also draft Reinhardt. So they got some good options in this draft.
Heck, at this rate, they're going to get both of them.
Yeah, Buffalo, obviously, they're starting right from the bottom, but they'll be here.
Here's one of the things I want to talk about.
Did you get that one? That was a reference to Drake. Started at the bottom, now I'm here. No, that didn't work either.
No, he doesn't say here. He says
Oh, yeah.
Started by the bottom, now
I'm not so good at the pop culture. That's why I usually fake when I'm talking about pop culture topics in public.
See, you should be the one telling me about Kale chips.
Mm.
Here's one of my biggest pet peeves with the trade deadline, and you know where I'm going with this: the Insider Olympics.
Yes.
There are only 2 stations, TSN and Rogers Sportsnet, but there's like 40 different insiders all over the world in Canada.
This is where these guys get their fulfillment and their
This is
identity.
it. You're right.
If they weren't the insider, then they go home to their wives and they avoid eye contact and they sit and they play with their phones.
They open up a sealed cup of fruit salad and then think about what tomorrow holds. I'm telling you, Frank. Remember last year?
Darren Dreger's sitting in the corner in his kitchen in his briefs, and he's like, "Where's the macaroni salad? Where's the macaroni salad?" And he's just depressed.
Bring me a cup of dignity.
A cup of dignity. That sounds familiar. I'm not sure where that joke is from, but
that's my own joke.
Oh.
Here's my thing, though.
Yeah.
We're not even exaggerating.
No.
Like, this is how it is.
You could tell they get a real charge out of it.
It's an absolute horse race. Like, there's Seabiscuit, there's Secretariat, there's anyone else you want in there. Remember, was it last year where Aaron Ward blew the Iginla trade? He wanted it so badly. He wanted to be first so badly that he put it out there that he was on his way to Boston. Everyone starts blowing up about it. TSN's got on their front page, and then he wears it like a wet salmon on the face.
That was wild. Just wild. Yeah.
That's what you get. That's where pride gets you, friends. Pride comes before a fall. My mother always said that. Mom, I know you're listening.
And then there's the fake insiders. Remember that hockey insider guy? Wouldn't let anyone know what his identity was?
Yeah, he got a lot of press, didn't he?
I think he's still around, but he used to tweet these rumors every single day. He'd have all these ridiculous rumors. I don't think he ever got one right. I followed him for maybe a month or 2, and I would just trash talk him as much as I could. He never replied. But, man, that guy – and then there's those guys, right, that are just wish that they could be an insider.
Tough way to make friends, eh?
And, yeah, these people probably don't have a lot of friends.
Here's my question. Who is your favorite hockey analyst / insider? Who's the one that you trust when they speak?
Pierre LeBrun, actually. He seems to have a little bit of grace in the way he speaks. Although I don't think you can have a little bit of grace. You either have it or you don't, but he's got grace.
What does that mean?
That means
Is it like gravy? Is it a substance you just pour on things?
I think that he seems to have more respect for people. I mean, at least that's the way he comes across.
Like the players or
the players and for one another. Like he seems to not really be caught up in the game as much. Although he's obviously into it. Like he knows everything and he's a good insider. But it seems I get this vibe from Drager and McKenzie and even the other insiders like Elliot Friedman that they're just really super competitive and that this is how, as I said before, this is where they get their identity. With LeBron, it seems like he just seems a little more relaxed about it. Like
I think
he actually enjoys it more.
He probably sings that song that you just talked about. I started from the bottom, now I'm here.
You were just making fun of my interpretation of it, right?
Yeah, I was. I was
Yeah.
just doing just that. I think because you're supposed to ask me the same question, and my
I
answer,
was gonna ask you. You didn't give me a chance.
is Elliot Friedman.
Yeah,
I love Elliot Friedman, and less so for his spoken interviews and him breaking stuff because he
Agreed.
doesn't really break stuff.
he shouldn't
The
be
guy,
on. He shouldn't be on TV though. He should just be a writer because his 30 thoughts are pretty good, but on television he's just not good.
yeah. So I was just gonna say all that, and you wouldn't let me. What I was trying to say was, if you haven't read Elliot Friedman's 30 for 30 thoughts, they're incredible. The perspective this guy comes with, the questions he asks are very intriguing, and they're a world away from a lot of the stuff that's repetitive that you get in the news in terms of, hey, Carey Price, how did you feel about that performance? Hey, what do you got to change to do next? You know what I mean, Frank? Like you're in the media.
Well,
I feel like
a lot of
Friedman
these
asks
guys,
better questions.
a lot of these guys are super sensational. That's my biggest problem with it. Is especially with even Dragger is a good example of that. He just seems like he lives off of the hype and the rumors. And the one guy that really annoys me is Farhan Lalji. Like he just creates this stuff. Like this weekend, there's just the huge frenzy around Luongo not getting the start. Like I understand like that's what pays the bills and that's what you're supposed to do, but there just doesn't seem to be a lot of respect.
I was annoyed that Luongo didn't get that start.
Well, I agree. I mean, they should have just given him the start. Like it's not a normal game. He has been with the organization, had been for the organization for 8 years, and they don't give him the start that obviously he wants.
Yeah, the Canucks are kind of a joke that way. Give the guy the start. He's done enough. I mean, I get that it's 2 points and Lack was on a hot streak. Relax, Torts. You got outplayed the entire game anyway.
Torts' leash is not going to last very long. The guy isn't going to be there next year. He shouldn't be anyway. Honestly, like it's not that he's a horrible coach. It's just it's the wrong team.
I want to say one thing about the insiders. Here's my question, Frank. If you're a GM, do you use the insiders to your advantage? Do you actually leak information to get the buying price up or down on a certain player?
Good question. I think that's it. I mean, they would probably consider that, but I don't know. You wouldn't. It depends what situation is, what player it is. Like, I mean, if it's a player like Luongo, this whole and Gillis was leaking information, it just created a farce the whole time. Like, you don't want that for your team. But if it's a player like Luongo, like Ginla, who is the face of the organization, like, why would you want people to be spreading rumors about a player that you should have respect for in your organization? So I think it depends who it is.
And those are very valid points. But I'm saying if I'm a GM, I am using every medium to my advantage, and I am placing false information here, right information there to either throw off people that are trying to drive up the price or get information from me, or I would use it to my advantage. I would have Darren Dreger on speed dial and call him up and say, yo, here's what I'm offering. I'm offering a first rounder. Get it out in the news so that people start, oh, it's low, and get that bidding up.
Speaking of Dragger face, he really milks his one connection in Toronto. Apparently his cousin is Dave Nonis, and he's always talking about Toronto and his source, and it's Dave Nonis.
Dave Nonis is directly his source?
Apparently that's his cousin, and he gives him all his information.
Well, I would milk it too. That's your biggest market.
I want to talk about another insider that you seem to have a lot of respect for, Nick Kypreos.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Doug McLean.
Oh, or Doug McLean. You love that duo, don't you?
Do you ever tune into Hockey Central?
No, I don't, even though you've been telling me to watch it for the last, 8 years.
You're not going to have much of a choice now that Rogers bought everything. You're going to see Nick Kypreos,
Aren't they
Darren
just
Millard.
gonna send them to some B League, maybe make them cover WHL or something, or Sasquatch Hockey League?
No, because the TSN guys aren't going anywhere.
Well, they can find some talent somewhere else. I don't think that Nick Kypreos and Doug McLean will stick around. I mean, they should get Don Cherry and Ron McLean. Get them in there.
Listen, let Don Cherry die.
You just hate Don Cherry.
Leave the guy alone. I feel like he's, I don't know, some sort of pop celebrity that we will just keep on trotting out like a show pony.
Well,
that's on his deathbed.
He probably wants to retire. You heard he didn't even want to go to Russia. You'd think that would be the dream of any hockey analyst would be to go to Sochi.
Leave the guy alone. But anyway, to your point, Nick Kypreos, I was listening to Nick Kypreos today, and I think this guy is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he gets the idea that drama and sensationalism sells, but come on, Nick Kypreos. So I thought, Frank, it would be funny if we did, we could try this. If it works, it doesn't work.
I'm a little nervous that it won't work, but I'm hoping it does.
I'm going to get you to ask me 3 questions, and I'm going to respond quickly as Nick Kypreos.
Okay, so let's kick this thing off. So, Greg, There shouldn't be fighting in hockey. Your thoughts?
Are you kidding me? No fighting in hockey. Who do you think made the way for Gretzky? I mean, you're ridiculous. This is terrible.
Oh, you couldn't even finish it? You're over? It's over? Game over?
Well, let's do another question.
Well, Reimer, he gets bullied last night. What do you think about that, Kipper?
Oh, you know he's getting bullied over there. Don't you be quiet, Doug McLean. Those guys in front of the net, they got to stick up for the guy. He's putting his neck out there.
What about head injuries? What are your thoughts on head injuries?
Oh, baloney. These guys aren't built the way they used to be. Clark Gillies used to be out there punching guys in the head, and now look at them. They fall down and hurt themselves, and now it's just
Kipper,
a joke.
But Kipper, what do you think of James Franco?
No, listen. It's ridiculous.
James Franco, what do you think?
The guy teaches a class on himself. The guy teaches a class on him. James Franco couldn't act if he wanted to.
Now, Kipper, what do you think of
I put Kipper away. I put Kipper away.
I was trying to milk that because it wasn't going well. It was a train wreck.
Listen, you put yourself out there a lot for this podcast, so I thought I would put myself out there once. I owe you a couple.
That's true. I've really ruined my reputation or whatever kind of type of reputation I had. If any girl listens to this podcast, it's game over. I don't have a chance.
Yeah, your Tinder profile's on lockdown. My point is, the next time you listen to Hockey Central or Doug McLean or Nick Kypreos, that sort of thing, pay extra attention to Nick Kypreos and how he blows up about things from a player's perspective. I think it is absolutely absurd. I enjoy watching it once in a while, but I can't take him serious.
Well, the thing with Kipper is it honestly seems like he's like looking in the mirror the entire time. Like all he cares about is his appearance. Like that's not a very good quality in a person.
Yeah, he's shining that Stanley Cup ring that he won with half a season.
Old Kipper.
I'll tell you this. That Nick Kypreos segment is not coming back for a long time.
No, I think it's over, but we'll have to brainstorm something else for you to do. I liked how we, at the beginning of the show, how we kind of talked about you being an introvert. That was really nice.
It was a little bit too sensitive for me. I think next time I'm going to avoid the question.
Yeah, the whole serious thing doesn't really work on our podcast. It works better to just be jokesters.
I tell you, Frank, there's plenty of fish in the sea. If you guys want to get a hold of us, it's at Sir Greg Moore, at Nathan Frankster. If you're lucky, you'll get a chance to listen to us at puckrant.com if we can ever get that podcast.
I'm just going to post it tomorrow, Greg. It's going on.
I'll tell you this, though. You guys are listening because we had the most views ever from our last week's podcast, so keep it up. If you have any questions, any recommendations, if you want to say, hey, guys, shut up, or hey, guys, talk louder, or whatever, let us know. You know where to find us, and I promise you this, we will be better next week.
For sure, we will be much better. It'll be a whirlwind how much better we are.
Take us away, littlest hobo.
So if you want to join me for a while, just grab your hat, come travel light, that's hobo style.